The Marvel Cinematic Universe gave Scarlet Witch her much-needed screen time and showcased her limitless potential, but there is a reason why most comic book fans prefer the comic book version of Wanda Maximoff more. The Scarlet Witch was never a character you could take casually, but as we delve deeper into who she is and what she can be, there are no doubts in our minds about what a dangerous character she is and how she is the strongest ally the Avengers could have had. In this video, we will take a look at her powers, see what makes her such a remarkable character, and why we should stay on her good side pretty much all the time. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Scarlet Witch, and why was she raised by a cow? Wanda Maximoff, our dear Scarlet Witch, did not have a simple life. Her mother, Natalia, was a Romani witch, and the twins were in her sole care. Now, you can imagine what a difficult life her mother had to lead. After all, it was not a secret that the Romani people were often discriminated against. This type of nomadic lifestyle, with so many people waiting around the corner to come hurt you, is not the life you would want to give to your kids. And Natalia was not any different. While her profession gave her quite a bad rep amongst the general crowd, she was a good mother who was willing to do whatever it took to keep her two kids safe. So, instead of keeping them with her, she left the kids to her brother, Django, and Marya. While Natalia did all of that, thinking she would keep the kids safe, fate had a different plan. Right after she had handed over the kids, the area where Django and Marya lived was raided by High Evolutionary and his knights. To refresh your memory, High Evolutionary is this scientist who was obsessed with the knowledge of genetics and the secrets of evolution. This obsession led him to make a serum that turned him into the High Evolutionary. Once he became this way, he decided to work more on genetics and figure out a way to make the evolutionary process a better one. Rocket Raccoon from the Guardians of the Galaxy was his creation, and we do get to see him in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 movie. So, this madman wanted to get babies for his experimentation, while Django and Marya did their best to keep Wanda and Pietro out of the evil clutches of High Evolutionary. This Catholic priest decided to kidnap the twins and give them to the High Evolutionary at his citadel in Wundagore Mountains in Transia. The High Evolutionary did his thing to the two twins, turning them into superhumans, but he hid it and made it seem like Wanda and Pietro were just two young mutants. Obviously, as a man of science, he was not going to take care of these kids, so he decided to ask one of his humanoid animal creatures, like the ones we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, to take care of the twins for him. This servant was Bova, a humanoid cow who also served as a midwife. Under her care, the twins were safe and taken care of, well, as much as she could without getting on the bad side of the High Evolutionary. Now, when Wanda was under Bova's care, things happened to Wanda, leading to her becoming so ingrained and in tune with the chaos magic. Bova and High Evolutionary also tried to get the twins adopted, but that did not work out, and eventually, the twins were sent back to Django and Marya again. When it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the changing of the backstory and omitting Bova's plotline from the Maximoff twins' life was something that a lot of comic fans did not like, even though the change was understandable by all. That is why, for newer fans of this titular character, her being raised by a cow might sound weird. Is she a mutant or just a normal human? The introduction of the Scarlet Witch made it seem like she was just another mutant with magical abilities as her power, but as we learn more and more about her, we realize that things are not exactly what they seem to be on the surface. The Maximoff twins and their mutant abilities concept got thrown away as chaos magic was introduced. Chaos magic is not something that can be explained by the mutant abilities, so that was the first time it was implied that maybe they were never mutants in the first place. Then, as more of Wanda's past is discovered, we realize that she is actually a normal human who has magical powers as her birthright. So what happened was that High Evolutionary built a citadel in Transia to do his experiments. He had an issue with lycanthropy, and he wanted to cure it by using dark magic. The use of dark magic inadvertently ended up with him summoning a demon known as Chthon. This demon held a huge amount of power, and that is never good news. Anyway, the High Evolutionary somehow managed to banish the demon, but he soon found traces of this said demon and his powers in the Maximoff twins. Seeing that these two kids already had a bit of that power in them, the High Evolutionary decided that the best call would be to experiment upon them, and while doing so, Wanda ended up getting imbued with the powers of Chthon, making her highly susceptible to magic and in specific, chaos magic, as Chthon was the god of chaos. How does she get her chaos magic ability? Wanda's powers are no joke at all. From the very first moment we see her wield those powers, we know that Wanda has a huge potential. But what exactly is she using? Is it the same type of magic that Cersei used? Or maybe the one that Magic used? Well, when it comes to Wanda, the magic that she uses is known as chaos magic. This magic is a skill-based magic, and the more she uses it, the more adept she becomes at using it. While at first, we think that her magical powers had something to do with the High Evolutionary. But as it would turn out, that was not the case. Instead, since her birth, she had gotten a blessing and a curse from the chaos god known as Chthon. It turns out that this god had come to her on the day she was born and gave her the blessing that allowed her to use his power as his own. Now obviously, he did not do it out of the goodness of his heart. He did it because he wanted to use her body and eventually come back. Now, given that Chthon is the planet's first master of black magic, getting this blessing from him definitely affected the way Wanda was able to use magic. This blessing basically magnified her magical abilities, and as Wanda herself had mentioned, she could bend the universe to her will. All of this is possible because of this chaos magic that Chthon made available to her. There are very few things in this world that Wanda cannot create. None of the doors are locked for her, and she can easily create a key if there is any such door. How does Wanda's witch sight defy the limits of vision? Being an extremely powerful witch comes with a lot of perks and very few cons. When it comes to Wanda, her witch sight is something that comes in handy whenever she and her group are in uncharted terrain. Thanks to this ability of hers, she can easily see things that any normal human would be unable to. For example, she was able to see the spirit of Agatha Harkness. She was also able to see Moonstone's psychic assault and the Invisible Man Bull. These things help Wanda protect herself from anything that human or machine eyes cannot see. But that is not all. There is another thing that helps her whenever she is in combat, or about to be in combat. That is scrying. Scarlet Witch is able to create this handy-dandy projection of her surroundings, which allows her and her teammates to know everything that is happening around them and whether or not they are safe. Not only can she see what everyone is doing in these projections of hers, but she can also hear everything that they are saying, which makes this ability of hers quite interesting. This gives her a massive advantage because this ability of hers can easily cover a large distance with ease, allowing her to see things that are far away from her. Cellular sorcery. Can Scarlet Witch truly control biology of any living creature? Think about the witches we saw in the fairy tales. They always handed out curses like they were birthday candies and changed the appearance of people. When we were children, of course, we could explain it away as it is magic. It does not have to make sense. But now that we are older, we can understand that there has to be some sort of a biological basis for this. And the biological basis for this magic was a cellular mutation. I am not saying there is no magic involved. I am saying that magic modified the cells of the living organism. Now, why am I talking about that when it comes to Wanda? It is because Wanda can actually do that. Her magic allows her to change the cellular structure of any living organism. Instead of using that ability of hers to give someone a nose where they should not have one, Wanda uses her powers much more productively. Thanks to her ability to manipulate the cells, she can heal any injury on her body or others with ease. She had also linked up Bruce Banner, the Hulk, with other Hulks so that he could merge with all of them. When it came to She-Hulk, Jennifer, Wanda had worked to age the gamma radioactively in her body until it turned inert. Resurrection Enigma. How did Scarlet Witch bring herself back to life? When you are someone with enough power to blip an entire species out of existence with one phrase, death is just a trivial matter for you. That is exactly the case for Wanda. Her powers are vast, and whenever she dies, she becomes an expression of void. Instead of disappearing into the cosmos and dying like the rest of us, she is reborn again from the depression of the void, bringing her back to life. She had made herself back up from scratch when she was in the Eldritch Orchard. So, death is something that is extremely unimportant for her. Now, we get it. She is the vessel and user of chaos magic. Of course, she can cheat death, but can she help someone else cheat death? The answer is yes. As we know, Wanda had quite the romance with our dear Vision. However, their marriage did not last because eventually, Vision was reset and he forgot all the feelings that he had for her. However, soon enough, Wanda met with a superhero called Wonder Man and fell head over heels in love with him. And why won't she? After all, Vision's consciousness was based on Wonder Man's brain. Eventually, at one point, Wonder Man met his demise while they were on a mission, and thanks to Wanda's powers, she was able to revive him, making sure she did not have to go through the pain of losing him again. The Mystical Nexus. Is Scarlet Witch the living focal point of Earth's and her universe's mystical energy? When it comes to Scarlet Witch, she has quite a few titles attached to her. The one title that bears the most weight out of all is the title of the Nexus Being. What does it mean to be the Nexus Being? Well, the Nexus Beings are individual entities or characters who can affect the future and the probability of a particular reality. They basically give the reality they are in their personality, dictate their future course, and how it would grow, flourish, and eventually die off in a way. Each of these Nexus Beings is definitely very important when it comes to understanding the multiverse, which is why the Time Variance Authority and Timekeepers have to keep a very close eye on them. It is said that each reality only has one Nexus Being. However, that has been rather inconsistent. Wanda is the Nexus Being of Earth 616. This allows her to share an empathic bond with other Nexus Being present, and in a way, it also allows her to drain power from other divine beings like Sidorak. As a perk of this title, Wanda will be the focus point of this whole reality, and the one to harness every magical thing this reality has to offer, making her an extremely powerful character overall. This also means that anyone who is born of the Scarlet Witch will be the one who can take on the great forces and endure them, and maybe even rock the cosmos itself completely. Can she resist the Phoenix Force? How does her power resistance ability work? One of the biggest curse and boon that the Marvel Universe has faced is the Phoenix Force. This elemental force has been considered the greatest boon by the X-Men, while for anybody else, it is considered to be a terrible thing. That is because this elemental force, which can destroy anything in its path, is notorious for driving its hosts down the dark path. There are very few people who were not affected by Jean Grey and her Dark Phoenix era, where she destroyed a lot of lives. So, we can understand that this force is not a joke, and not a lot of people stand a chance against it. However, as the Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful beings on Earth 616, the one with the chaos magic and everything, she surprisingly does. When she faces off against the Phoenix Force, Wanda is able to take the Force for quite a lot more time than any other character did. This is because her powers give her the ability to protect herself from any other type of magic or energy, and her powers specifically work to prevent their erasure, making her immune to Phoenix Force. Can she control the time? Time flows like water, and it waits for none except, of course, one who has the ability to control time. Now, there have been a lot of characters who can travel through time, but how many characters have the ability to control it, as in making it slow down, stop, or go faster at their will? Well, Wanda Maximoff does. As a Nexus Being, the character of the reality she is in completely depends upon Wanda. This gives her the ability to control the time, and even control and alter the probabilities of cosmic timelines. She has slowed down and stopped time, and at one point, she even conjured up a spell that allowed her to accelerate the time as well. She made a person's body go through 5,000 years of wear and tear in the span of 5 seconds. In her omniversal battle with Agatha Harkness, Wanda accelerated the time to the point the whole fight between her and her mentor was over by the time Darcy Lewis finished saying her 2 words. This was an achievement, and seeing her ex-mentor praise her was really sweet. Is she more powerful than Avengers? Scarlet Witch is an extremely powerful being, and if she ever switched over to the dark side, things would get really tricky really fast. While it should be easy to keep her on the good side and make sure she never does something that is messed up, it is not that simple. That is because when it comes to Wanda Maximoff, her troubled childhood has affected her psyche deeply. Owing to the childhood trauma that she faced, Wanda is actually very sensitive, and she can lose her stability in record time if you are not careful with her. Now, obviously this is not her fault, and this is not something she does intentionally to cause issues. However, whenever she is feeling this type of strong emotion, it definitely becomes harder for her to control her powers, as we have previously mentioned. The whole reality depends on her, and if she loses her stability and goes amok, that is bad news for everybody who is on the Earth, because that would affect everyone, including the Avengers, who would not be able to stop her even if they tried. This pushes the world's mightiest of heroes to come together and help their friend without getting killed, or making the situation worse, because both are viable outcomes of facing off against an unstable Wanda Maximoff. Can she create realities or just make illusions? As a powerful witch, Wanda is very good at confusing people. See, at first, it began with her creating illusions, which helped her out by fooling whoever she was against. Any type of illusion she created was so strong that it completely warped the minds of the people in it. However, as days went by, this illusion power of hers became the power that allowed her to warp reality. Her powers were so strong that reality was willing to bend, break, and mold itself to turn her illusion into a reality, which can be quite scary. The House of M is proof of that because, come on, we have to mention the M-Day event where Wanda wiped out all the mutants with just 3 words. No more mutes. If she is not scary, I do not know who she is. However, we have to give credit where credit is due. Thanks to this power of hers, over the years, Wanda was able to defeat several demons and put them in different pocket dimensions, which she kept with her. She is also able to trap Dream Queen in her own dimension, the dimension where Dream Queen is omnipotent, which proves just how strong she is. She can change the course of reality just by wishing for it. Her powers are considered to be a touchstone in whatever reality she exists in. Force field. Is Scarlet Witch's protective barrier the strongest line of defense? When you are a powerful witch like Wanda, there are some things that you end up doing almost instinctually to protect yourself. One such defense move of Wanda's is her strong force fields. She can create them in the blink of an eye to protect herself and her allies whenever she feels like they are in danger. The force field protects her and her teammates from any type of destructive attacks, like bullets, explosions, or blasts. The force fields are made up of mystical energy, which explains their durability. While she normally uses them to protect herself, her teammates, or an entire village, that does not mean that when it comes to using this as an attack maneuver, she does not use them. She has created this force field around Voyager to make sure he could not teleport away from her. This force field is one of the biggest examples of Wanda's powers acting up to protect themselves and, in turn, herself, even though she is not doing it consciously. Does she have kids with Vision or Nightcrawler? If we have to talk about Wanda's family life, we have to get some tissues, because this story is just tragic. Honestly, everything that Wanda goes through is horrible, and it is simply heartbreaking to follow her journey sometimes. As we know, the first person Wanda fell in love with was Vision. Vision was supposed to be her the one, and she really wanted to have a typical American family with him. This led to her warping reality and giving them a nice little family. She even ended up pregnant with twins Billy and Tommy. The family unit was going great, or at least so we thought. Wanda did not conceive the children the way we thought she did. She used her magic to basically conjure them into her womb. Even then, there had to be some sort of a core around which the kids formed, and that core was the fragmented pieces of the essence of the demon known as Mephisto. To put it simply, Mephisto is the devil himself in the Marvel Universe, so obviously, things were not going to end too well for Wanda. Mephisto did not want Wanda to have control over her boys the way she did, because he understandably wanted this essence back, but obviously, he could not just go to her straightforwardly and ask for it. Instead, Mephisto decided to concoct a scheme with his trusted companion, Master Pandemonium, and together they abducted Vision, the love of Wanda's life. Vision was abducted and dismantled, so when he was put together, he essentially got through a reboot, which made him forget everything that he had shared with Wanda. This affected Wanda really badly, which is not even surprising, and when she was this weak, Mephisto took her kids, and by taking back his essence, he wiped the kids out of reality, breaking her heart completely. This event led to a huge breakdown in Wanda's psyche, and in these unstable conditions, Wanda's actions ended up affecting several plot lines in the Marvel Universe. While on Earth 616, Wanda did not get to have a child and enjoy the joys of motherhood completely. There is an Earth where she did. It is Earth 2182. In this timeline, she has a child with Nightcrawler. Their daughter is Talia Wagner. She got a few things from her father, like her blue fugue, her yellow eyes, her oddly numbered fingers and toes, and of course, her tail. Thanks to her parentage, she had the ability to use energy bolts. This was a move where she released energy blasts back to back without giving her opponent a chance to gain the upper hand. Other than that, she got telepathy, super agility, night vision, psychic shields, body possession, regenerative reflexes, and micro-suction discs that allowed her to stick onto any surface that she wanted. Talia grew up in the X-Men and became a huge part of it in her timeline. Overpowered Wanda. What occurs when Scarlet Witch faces unrelenting forces? When it comes to Wanda, people who have been following the comic book continuity know exactly how strong she is. It is not at all easy to overpower her, owing to her powers. As the Nexus being, Wanda is someone who controls the whole of reality given her unstable nature, and it is not surprising at all when she ends up altering reality completely whenever she is faced with forces that make her feel overpowered. I am not talking about forces as in actual forces. I am talking about emotional stress that can be caused by any event. One of the most devastating events in Marvel's history was caused by Wanda's being overwhelmed by the emotional stress that Magneto caused her. This led to her restoring reality in its normal form, with 90% of the mutants losing their powers, which in turn caused a lot of deaths. So, the result of Wanda facing off against unrelenting forces is not good, as she ends up easily overwhelmed and becomes unstable. Marvelous verdict. Lover or hater, there is no way anyone can possibly deny that Wanda Maximoff is an absolute powerhouse of a character. With her limitless potential and huge arsenal of powers, she is one of those characters who can have a lot of adventures that would be quite interesting for the fans to follow. While the comic book version of Wanda Maximoff is far superior and stronger than what Marvel Cinematic Universe portrayed her to be, we are hopeful that with the attention that the cinematic universe brought towards her, she would soon get the attention and fan following she truly deserves. Being the one thing that stabilizes this reality puts a lot of weight on Wanda, and how she ends up working around it is definitely something I am excited to see more of. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.